Hi there, my name is Suze. Thank you so much for being here. I work with women to help them heal and integrate their inner masculine and feminine energies so that they can have lives that feel really emotionally fulfilling and satisfying. I had a viewer comment on one of my videos that I did about a week or so ago, and I so appreciate you. I so appreciate anyone and value anyone who has the bravery and the courage, the transparency to comment on my videos. Let me know what you thought. Let me know if it was relevant and how I can take my message even a step deeper for you to make this message, my insights, even more powerful and real in your life. You know, in working with women, in working with the clients that I have, that's where I really am gifted and powerful, is people giving me real life situations, and I'm able to understand the energies underneath and work with the energies, guide the energy underneath the situations, behind the situations. And when you learn to guide the energies behind physical situations, dynamics, then everything shifts and changes, right? That is the power of feminine energy. The feminine energy is the ruler of the unseen world, the internal world, the spiritual world, the energetic, emotional world. That is where the feminine rules. So, on that note, I'm probably going to break this down into a couple of videos. I'm just going to cover the first layer of some of the things that she commented on because I loved what she was saying in her comment on my message. So I hope you're back here. The lovely woman who commented, I hope that you're back here and you hear this message today because I am going to be taking your thoughts a step deeper, but I probably will make 2 videos to get into it all the way. Because the word that I saw coming up constantly in the comment was the word trust. Trust and value, the more and more I go down this path of energy, trust and value when it comes to intimate relationships, intimate spiritual connections, divine counterpart kind of energies, really spiritually minded partnerships and connections growing and expanding, aligning. Trust and value are 2 of like the most important core values and words. Value, I know, a little redundant, but just bear with me. And the original video that she was commenting on, basically, I was talking about estrogen. And I was talking about a function of estrogen that really was intended for survival, but how having an awareness around this can really help us in relationships with men with masculine energy. And the core function of that I was talking about in that video of estrogen is how quickly we can shift. Estrogen allows the feminine to pivot really quickly. And this can be very confusing to men in masculine energy, clearly, because we're talking about estrogen here. So a woman can very quickly shift from a very feminine, soft, open, available space into a very closed off, protective, maybe aggressive, maybe even angry space, and how quickly that can happen. And we can rotate from one emotional state to another so quickly, and we can experience so many different emotions and emotional states and states of being in any given moment way more and way quicker than men can. And it can be very confusing. So having that understanding, if you didn't watch that video, I do recommend going back and looking at it. I forget exactly what I titled it, but I did say something about the survival function of estrogen. I said something about that in the original video. And she was commenting on that about how she recognized that was very true and how it's very confusing for men when we do shift. And the word that she kept mentioning was trust. How do we get the men to trust us more when we are in that? Now, I want to get deeper into that because I could see there's a very fine line in the scenario that she was presenting. There's a very fine line that we must be really honest with ourselves about and really vulnerable and aware of with ourselves, because is this shift that may happen really quickly, are we having an anxious response, which then, I've talked about this in many videos, if you are switching quickly from one thing into another, Be very careful. Is this an anxious response, which then turns into an impulsive reaction, which will always end up sabotaging whatever it is you actually truly want from your heart? Where your heart and your soul actually wants you to lead and take the relationship, the connection, you will sabotage it if you're not aware that you're reacting to a dynamic from an anxious space and not from a clear, calm, centered, intuitive, divinely connected, divinely guided space. So if you are reacting, if something happens in your external reality and it triggers you to then go into protection and anxious mode, what are you doing from there? Are you reacting externally from there and then that is causing confusion from the man? Or are you intuitively, wisely sensing, calmly sensing that something is happening externally in your dynamic that you wish to guide in a better direction? You wish to gently, lovingly, with compassion, with unconditional love, guide it into a more emotionally mature, emotionally stable place. You have to be really, really honest with yourself and really aware of the energy in your body at that moment. Now, if you are in a dynamic where you are wanting to guide the energy, guide the connection, the relationship in an emotionally mature, more emotionally intimate, more emotionally stable, more emotionally safe space, and that is where you want to guide it, and you're asking about trust in that scenario, I want to reference something for you. I said in my previous video, I was talking about self-care in my video that I recorded before this one. I am not religious. I quoted a Bible verse in that video as well. I'm going to quote another Bible verse here because I am not in any way religious. However, I was raised religiously, and therefore I am very aware of a lot of Bible verses. And there are some Bible verses that hold a lot of incredible ancient wisdom that are very applicable to our lives today. I just have found that in religion, a lot of this ancient wisdom was manipulated and twisted to serve ego and to serve men's control agendas and very limited agendas. I believe that Bible verses were not to be used in that way, but men and ego will do what ego will do. So anyway, the Bible verse that I'm thinking of for this is in Proverbs, which I love. It's Proverbs, wisdom, right? And it's talking about this woman who is a very successful, wise woman. And it says, the heart of her husband safely trusts in her. There's our key word, trust. I think of this verse often. The heart of her husband safely trusts in her. For a heart to trust in someone else, there has to be emotional safety and availability. The other person on the other end that is providing the safety for the heart to trust in the other person, in the feminine, that feminine has to have done a lot of emotional work within herself to hold space for uncomfortable emotions, to understand and see when she is in a space of an anxious trigger, to understand her self-sabotaging ways, to understand her own limiting beliefs and look to annihilate her limiting beliefs to come into an expansive, open mind, open-hearted space. It is an open heart that creates safety for another heart to trust in that. A closed heart, a protected heart will never be able to create safety and trust for someone else's heart space. It doesn't work that way. So if we're sitting here as women, as feminines, demanding a man to trust us, and yet we're all over the place, unstable, unpredictable, anxious, sabotaging, misunderstanding, closed-hearted, protecting, angry and aggressive. Why? How is another heart supposed to feel safe in that space? It's impossible, because energy doesn't work that way. The laws of the universe and the spirit world do not work that way. If we're asking for trust, you have to learn how to trust yourself by putting in the work within yourself of understanding your anxiousness and working with it, holding space with it, choosing the higher path. And oftentimes this means letting things play out. I believe I did a video on that a few weeks ago. Feminine energy is so big and powerful and expansive that she understands that in the physical reality, oftentimes the better move is to let things play out. Trust your man enough to let him find his own way sometimes. It's a thing kind of like parenting. It's like parenting, as mothers, sometimes we want to protect our children so much, and we're so worried, and we don't want them to experience pain and suffering maybe that we've experienced in our past, that we overprotect the children and we don't allow them to figure out things on their own. We don't allow them to experience repercussions and consequences so that they can find their own way, because unfortunately as humans, that's how we learn the best. As humans, we learn the best by learning the hard way, unfortunately. So there's that fine line of wisdom. When do I guide the energy? When do I offer wisdom? And when do I allow things to play out and trust my partner? If your partner is showing you, and there's been discussions as well, there's been communication, verbal communication, and physical evidence that your partner values growth, values intimacy, emotional intimacy, values the things that you value as a divine feminine. If you understand and feel that you both are on that path, his path is not going to look exactly like your path, but you have to just keep looking for the moments of growth within him and encouraging that. That makes someone feel seen too. And if you feel seen by someone, you will trust them more. There's so much to this conversation. Like I said, I feel like, and I know I'm going to now, because I'm already 13 minutes in and I haven't said half of what I was planning on saying about this. There's so much emotional responsibility that the feminine must take in partnership with a masculine man. The emotional world is entirely the responsibility of the feminine. The physical world is the responsibility of the masculine. So if we're expecting the men to trust us, if we want them to trust the feminine vision, the feminine intuition, the feminine knowing, the feminine expansion, you have to first create the right environment for the heart of him. The heart of the husband safely trusts in her. And if you haven't done the work within your own heart to understand how that process works, if you haven't done it within yourself, how in the world can you do that process with someone else's heart outside of you? You can't. I hope this video helped. If you found value here, please do subscribe to my channel to help support me get this message out to others who need to hear it and who would find value in this message as well. Drop in the comments below what you resonated with the most and how I can deeper help you with this message of trust, with this emotional intimacy, emotional availability. How can I help you better in your dynamics and the things that you really want to bring forth in your partnerships and your connections, the desires of your heart? Let me know where you're at, how I can help you more. Thank you so much for being here. I'm sending so much love to all of you. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye-bye.